some examples of our transactions. In March, we signed a joint venture agreement with Scottish and Southern Energy PLC. It's a joint venture company of which we own 50% each or so. And the object is to eventually have alternatives to the energy supply in-home by utilising fuel cells. So effectively what you're having gas coming into your home, it gets reformed, it's reformed into hydrogen. The hydrogen through a fuel cell produces heat and power. It's interesting what you were saying with respect to changing priorities in relation to distributed generation. When I note that I think the government have got an announcement tomorrow with which relates to what they're going to do in addition to what they're proposing to do with respect to nuclear energy. I think that was a rather convoluted sentence, but there we are. So they've got nuclear energy, and then we've got a series of other initiatives to do with wind and solar and heat in the home. And this is, part, or certainly SSE certainly see what we do as part of a solution. Not the only solution, but part of it. This is called the Suzuki Cross Cage. It is a bike which is powered by a hydrogen fuel cell which sits underneath the cage itself. We have a joint development agreement with Suzuki, and we first showed this bike at the Tokyo Motor Show. It hit the press all over the world. Very interesting. I think you'll agree it looks rather cool. It derives from this, which was the Envy, which is now 3 or so years old, which we still have as a business proposition. The Envy is again a hydrogen fuel cell powered bike. We have Malcolm Wicks, the Energy Minister, coming into the business on Monday, and subject to him being suitably insured, he may be on it, going around our car park. I hope he doesn't go into anything, but there we are. Some of you may feel differently. But that was the acorn from which the Suzuki contract grew. It's interesting. And we have the Boeing flight, the world's first fuel cell manned flight. Quite interesting. The pilot was male, but they had 2 pilots lined up. Both of them quite mad, as far as I'm concerned. But there we are. And the other were female, was slightly lighter. Power to weight is very important in this particular application, and I don't quite know how he managed to get himself on there as opposed to the lighter the lady involved. I don't know what kind of shenanigans went on behind the scenes, but there it is. On our website you can see it flying. That's Spain in the background. We work very closely with Boeing Research and Technology in Spain over 4 years to get to here. It's kind of, there's our romantic associations here. There's the world's first, and then in 10 years, 12 years, there'll be aircraft flying around the world powered by hydrogen fuel cells. It's not the case. I think Rolls-Royce can rest easy. You can't get the power density out of fuel cells to replicate or otherwise supersede jet engines. But what you can have is auxiliary power on board aircraft, which takes the stress or fuel consumption away from the kerosene burning engines themselves. So it has potential. As a demonstrator, it worked beautifully. It was on the front page of the papers all over the world. We had some fantastic press out of it. Okay, this is the Peugeot van. This is a slightly different variant of PEM fuel cell technology. We showcased this around this building about 2 months ago. One of the things I do in my private time is I cycle, and when you're in a group of cyclists, all you can hear as you're cycling along is the noise of the tyres on the road. Similarly with this van, all you can hear is the noise of the tyres on the road because the fuel cell's silent. It's quite a strange experience, but we certainly think it's the future. And finally, a final project which is just recently announced is we've signed a contract to produce a number of London taxis, not necessarily in that colour. The underlying colour is moot. We're not quite sure what colour we want it to be yet, but silver or green seems to be the choice. And we have a collaboration agreement in situ with Lotus, TRW and LTI, and over the next 4 years or so, maybe when you go to Euston and jump off the train, or otherwise King's Cross, you might be on in a cab powered by one of these, which will hopefully significantly less noisy than cabs which are otherwise powered by diesel, although I imagine the driver of the cab is probably going to be equally as noisy as he currently is. So there we are. It's a business, or hopefully a brief canter through what we do. In terms of where we're going, which may be helpful to some of you, we're, like as I said at the beginning, we're a public company which is privately owned. A standard mantra is that we're going to list or seek to list on the alternative investment market. It's no secret that times are hard. As a former treasurer of Rolls-Royce, you can, there are various sources of funding you can choose to use, and AIM is one of them. But I think in terms of venture capital, obtaining capital, the kind of capital or the terms upon which you can obtain capital, you have to be creative. I think there are a number of variants which you could utilise and not simply go for what others have done before. I think we live in a creative world from a financing perspective, and that's absolutely necessary for people in early stages of their business to think creatively going forward. Where we're at, as I say, is we're looking to list when the time is right, subject to market conditions. However, we've got this far, and I wish those of you who are trying to get as far as we've got the best of luck, and hopefully that's been helpful. Thank you very much.